advertisers are concerned.
So what happened with Kevin Spacey?
What happened with Kevin Spacey? Yes, happily talk about that.
I mean, this is the downside,
This
right?
is well, here's a man who is also subject to an enormous amount of gossip. Alex and
Some of
I,
the same kind of gossip that you're...
Indeed.
Yes.
Alex and I and Ramona had been invited to TriggerStreet.com's. They're awarding a short $50,000 check to a short film winner, and at the party that night that we were
With
at,
your cameras?
No,
your cameras weren't there.
We were there off camera, and
that's not reality, then, is it?
Well, that we go out without the cameras, absolutely. So Jeff Goldblum was there, Gina Gershon was there, John Stamos was there, and so when Kevin got up to give his speech to a party where there were probably only 50 people in the room, he sort of introduced Jeff and Gina and John Stamos, and then said in a sort of a snide way, "Oh, and the most remarkable women here are the two Real Housewives," which pissed me off, if I can use that word.
Yes.
And, you know, I was annoyed, didn't go and speak to him, nor to Dana Brunetti, his previous assistant, who's now the president of TriggerStreet.com and a film producer. But anyway, Alex did go and speak to Kevin and said, "Listen, by the way, you know, before I was on a reality TV star, I did go to Northwestern, I was a theater major, I was trying to be an actress."
So she took him on?
So she took him on, and that was, she just righted him and just put him straight.
Shame the cameras weren't there.
That was the end of that. The next day, that was a Sunday night. The next day, Monday, I'm alerted to a text, rather to a tweet, that Dana, Kevin's assistant, had put out, where he wrote, and I'm going to get it almost correct, and this was something that he tweeted at 11:30 at night, that he'd just been verbally assaulted by the Real Housewife that looks like Skeleta. What the F was she doing at my party? And I heard about this throughout the day Monday. And when I'm at work, I am off show. I do not tweet, I do not Facebook, I don't do any of that. I have a day job. And so 8 o'clock that night when I got home, I responded to Dana. And by that stage, he was about to get on a plane, or had just got on a plane, leaving New York back to LA. And we had 3 or 4 tweets back and forth. And I ended it by sending him an article that had been in the New York Times 2 days prior about a Twitter spat that had happened in the UK with the comedian Stephen Fry. And it was where it was, and you know, he said, "Oh, that was a great link," and that was the end of it. 3 days later, both the Page 6 and the New York Post and the Daily News were chasing Alex and me for a quote, and a story got written. And what I just told you is the gospel truth.
And are you essentially your own publicist on this show? Is there a PR department you have to work through at Bravo? Or?
We all have. Alex and I have had paid publicists before. There is Bravo do have their own PR.
But are you one thing you said to me was that you said you were happy to come do this interview because you had your contract was much more liberal than the new cast, like the Washington cast, that you have more freedom than they'll ever have.
No, they're not on air yet, so they don't exist as far as TV land.
Yeah.
So I can talk about what happened in seasons 1 and seasons 2, and people in the audience.
And you can talk about the fact that you're shooting season 3
I can talk about season 3 is happening. I haven't said anything about what's happened in season 3.
Yeah. No black eyes though on you, so I'm assuming so far
my
so
makeup
good.
is really good.
But tell me this, alcohol and doing reality TV. It seems to me that people are drinking constantly in these shows. And
not as much as the blogs think.
Well, it just, okay, what they're editing and using is particularly the Orange County show. I mean, it's just like Pinot Grigio is water, but there's an awful lot of drinking in the, have you learned, you've got to watch what you drink on reality TV, just in terms of your own behavior? Or does it loosen you up and make it easier to do?
It's probably striking the balance between the two. You certainly mustn't get so wasted, or naked wasted, as the OC quote, I think.
But better to be buzzed.
But it probably helps the creative juices flow if you've had a little bit, perhaps.
My goodness.
Except for Jill Zarin, who just drinks Diet Coke.
Well, that's another kind of buzz. Now, I read that there's going to be a fashion line produced by the Housewives.
Produced by Bravo.
Right. Well, it's a fashion line that's based on that. Now, given that
from what I understand, there is no involvement by actual housewives in this fashion line.
Well, but given that you're probably the most sartorially splendid of the players.
You need to watch Mario this season. He's really.
Is Mario trying to compete with you? I mean, does he have his own red leather suit? Or was that patent leather? But I just wondered, do you get any piece of this? Is there going to be a menswear component?
No, not yet.
The Simon look?
We are. I mean, one thing where Bravo are very good is that we are free to do our own little side deals.
You and Alex are doing your own book?
We have a book coming out March 31st, sometime hopefully when season 3 is airing.
Yeah, child rearing.
Not child rearing. It's a story about what we have learned bringing up 2 kids in an urban environment. When I grew up in Australia, a long way away from DC, let alone New York. And I grew up with sugarcane fields in my backyard and kangaroos and cane toads, and it's a very different environment than I'm bringing up my 2 children here. So it's the book is not about how you should bring up your children. It's what we have learned. Because when Alex and I got together 10.5 years ago, children were not going to happen.
Yeah.
Both our mothers knew that they would not be grandparents.
Well, I think what people, and this could be huge for you, because I think what people don't realize is that Housewives is not just an American phenomenon. You are in Canada, I believe, and Britain, and you're airing in Australia right now.
Brazil is currently on. Uruguay finished last week. Australia finished last Monday. We are in Seoul. We're in Korea. We're in Cambodia. We're in Vietnam. This is everywhere. The OC3.
That's a big kind of celebrity.
Well, look, I was in Australia in July with Alex and the boys,
right.
And we had just flown 24 hours. Arrived in Sydney Airport, had a 4-hour layover until our next flight, and because we're now taking a little commuter flight, we're not in a lounge, right. We're just in the main body of the airport, and 3 people come up to us and we look rough, and there was a blog was written about how someone saw us on the flight and how Alex and I both look rough. Well, hey, we've been on a plane for 24 hours. We're allowed to, aren't we?
Yeah, now you know what it's like for Robert De Niro and Brangelina.
But they're often, I think Brangelina are often in private airplanes. We're not quite there yet.
Well, no, and I just want, now, let me ask you this. Is it only in America then, since you're known everywhere, is it only in America where you're called gay? Or do the Australians know you're just Australian and maybe not gay?
Well, I mean, look, sitting here talking with you now, do I sound particularly Australian?
Well, it doesn't matter to me. I don't even know what gay sounds.
No. But I mean,
it's been such a big deal.
There are Australian men who are not just Australian men, but they're Australian Midwesterners, just as there are Midwesterners or flyover country in the States. Does it worry me? No.
But did it surprise you that this would be one of the results that would bounce out of this show?
To tell you the truth, there was a scene in season 1 where you see me with my foot up on a lamppost. It was the day whether I'm going to wear dark or light brown leather boots. And I've texted Alex. She and Bethany are getting ready to go to a fashion show at Bryant Park.
So you had a very gay moment?
I filmed that as a pickup after the preview had aired.
Yeah.
And that 30-minute preview had aired, and I was already being talked about as being gay based on the 3 minutes of footage I have on that. So I'm running with it. I find it hysterical that why someone's sexuality is such gossip worthy to talk about.
Well, you dress well and you've got an accent, so you've already got 2 strikes against you, right?
I wore Speedos on the beach in St.
And you wore a Speedo, that's right. Well, that's why I wondered if in the different countries, the things that get the American audience riled up may not get the Australian audience or the Brazilian audience.
I really only know the reaction from probably the UK, because I lived in London for years, so I've got friends who have watched the show there. I know the reaction from Australia because my family have to watch the show, and my mother pretends not to watch the show and is embarrassed every time she sees it. And there are parts of people in the UK, there are areas of the UK and areas of Australia who have a similar reaction to areas of the States about me and the show.
So you come to Washington. You told me